restart. If you have any questions or concerns, please post them in the chat. All right, there we go. I think I'm doing this correctly. If anybody's, oh no, it's still counting down. Okay, anybody there? Just give me a quick comment in the chat on volume, picture, sound, everything. Let me square up that screen a little bit. Okay, there are 3 people in there. That's good. Somebody out there could just comment on the sound, if you would. You could hear me okay and see me okay. All right, looking good. Just about 3 o'clock here. It's good to see. Do a couple of seconds of juggling here. Like I always start a video, the way to learn how to juggle is practice. The way to learn how to do math for a standardized exam is practice as well. So we really always got to focus on doing a lot of practice. What I was planning on doing today, hopefully everybody could hear me. It'd be nice if somebody posted in the chat, yeah, I could hear and see well. I don't know why I always kind of seem to screw these up. But what I was going to work on today is decimals and percentages. The ASVAB really loves to mix these 2 things together to kind of trip you up. So there are 3 things really, the way to split a whole number into parts. One of those is fractions, one of those is decimals, and one of those is percentages. So if I had a fraction, 1 over 1 is the same as 1 is the same as 100%. Is also the same as 1.00. I could have as many pieces over there as I want. So as long as you know the full amount is 100%, the full amount is 1.00, it's not too hard to go back and forth between the 2. The trick I use to go from percents to decimals is I think of this percent sign having a little arrow there, and it's telling you to go over 2 places. So if I have 100%, it's the same thing as saying the decimal starts here. The arrow is telling to go this way 1, 2 places. So I go over 1, 2, and I can see 100% and 1.00 are the same. So if I have 73%, I'm thinking the decimal is right here at 73. The decimal's right here. I go over 1, 2. 1, 2, and I get 0.73. 73% 0.73 are equivalents. It is also 73 over 100 as a fractional form, and then you could reduce that fraction. All three of these mean the exact same thing. One is a percent, one is a decimal, one is a fraction. Best way to study for any exam is really have paper and pencil out in front of you. Here, in a live thing, you can't pause the video, but this will come up. You want to pause the video and do it if it's a later viewing of it. If you're doing it right now, I'll try and pause to give you a chance to do that as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and take these three percentages, convert them into a decimal. So convert 35% into a decimal, convert 121% into a decimal, convert 40.5% into a decimal. I'll give you a second to do that on a piece of paper or even in your head. And we have a 10-problem practice multiple choice test, good for the ASVAB preparation or any standardized math exam down here, and we'll work our way through that practice test. Just go over these ideas first between decimals and percents. So the first one, I go over 1, 2 to get 0.35. Right here, I go over 1, 2 to get 1.21. 121% is more than 1. Therefore, my decimal equivalent is more than 1. 40.5, my decimal is already here. I go over 1, 2 to get 0.405. It's a little bit of a trickier one. Hopefully you got all three of those right. If you did, say something in the comments or in the chat there. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I'm worried my volume isn't quite right. Let me do a double check here. Okay, so that's percent to decimal. Let's do a couple more here. Let's now go decimal of percent. So if I have 0.65, write that as a percent. 6.5, write that as a percent. 0.052, write that as a percent. Okay, if you got those down. So to go from a percent to a decimal, I went over 1, 2. Well, I'm doing the exact opposite. Now I'm going decimal to a percent. So I got to go 1, 2 to the right. I go over 1, 2 to get 65%. Right here, I got to go over 1, 2. Well, there's no space there. It has to be a 0. So this is 650%, which makes sense. It's going to be more than 100 because this is more than 1. Right here, I'm going to go over 1, 2 to get 5.2%. So that's how I remember to go from percent to decimal, decimal to percent. You're always moving over a couple of places. If I wanted to convert these to fractions, this is 0.052 or 5.2%. That would be 5.2 over 100. It's weird to have a decimal inside of a fraction. To get rid of that, I could just move it over one place. But if I do that in the numerator, I'd have to do it in the denominator as well. So that would be 52 1,000ths. And that you actually call this 52 thousandths. This would be 650 over 100. Numerator is greater than the denominator, and that makes sense. 100 goes into 650 6 times with 50 left over, 50 100ths. 50 goes in here once and here twice. It is the equivalent of 6.5. And then this would be 65 100ths is a fraction. And then 5 will go in there, I think 15 times. 5 will go in there 20 times. Nope, I did that wrong. 5 goes into there 10, 15 times. 5 goes into there 25 times. 5 would now go into here 3 times. And 5 will go into here 5 times. 3/5 is 60%. I did something wrong there. 50, 55, 60, 65. I'm not sure what I did wrong on this one. I need a little bit more room here. We had 65, 65% is equivalent of 0.65, or as a fraction, 65/100ths. Now we got to reduce that fraction. 5 goes into 65 one time into 6. Bring down the 1, bring down the 5. 5 goes into 15 13 times. There we go. There's my mistake. So 5 goes into 65 13 times. 5 goes into 100 20 times. Those are both prime numbers. Well, no, they're not, but this one is, so nothing will go into 13. So I could have 65%, 0.65, 65/100ths, or as a reduced fraction, 13/20ths. Kind of bobble that one a little bit, but that's the right answer there. Okay, oh, there we go. There we go, getting some answers there. Hello, hello. I should have stayed in college. I don't know. It's never too late to learn. 5 goes in. Thank you. Thank you. I should have been looking at the comments quicker. You would have caught my mistake quicker. All right, with that said, have that paper out in front of you. And let's go ahead and start this practice test. If you have a question, just post it right up there in the chat, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Again, have paper and do the problem first. Some of these are pretty quick. You might be able to get them into your head. Recruiter mentions that 0.15 of the last graduating class joined the Air Force. What percentage of the class does this represent? So I just have to take this, move it over 1, 2 to get 15%. Correct answer, answer B right there. Uh-oh, too high up on the board. Everybody get that one right? Okay, moving on to number 2. I'll give you a second to do this problem, and then I'll do it. This is actually a surprisingly easy problem, but this problem is all about decoding the words. An item originally priced at $80 is on sale for 20% off. After the discount is applied, what is the decimal equivalent of the final price? So we want the final price relative to the original price. Well, if the original price is 100%, the original price is 100%, I am getting 20% off. So what is the decimal equivalent of the final price as a percentage? 80%. That's actually as easy as it is. And then I have to convert that into a decimal. So I take that 80%, I move the decimal place over 1, 2 to get 0.80. There we go. See a C right there. Nice. Yeah, it's easy to grab that 20%, but you read 20% off, so you just convert that to a decimal. So it's really more about decoding the words. All right, very good. Let's move on to number 3. Go ahead and post your answers there in the solution. Oh, what's that? What is that? I wonder if that what's on the last one. It's going to be $80. It's not asking for, it's only looking for percentage. So the 60 is right. But the question is asking, you get 20% off. You got to subtract that 20% from the full price of 100% to get the 80%. So you're not taking the 20 from the cost of $80, you're taking the 20% from the 100% on that last one. All right, let's take a look at this one. I'm moving my decimal place over. As a decimal, I go over 1, 2. So this is, no, I don't. The arrow is telling me you go the opposite way. So I got to go over 1, 2. So that gives me 0.00045. Correct answer A. Answer A right there. Cherokee Whispers is keeping me on my toes. Thank goodness you're there today. Okay, moving on to the next one. Give you a minute here. Yeah, I'll post this live. I think I think it takes a while for it to upload for some reason. But yeah, I'll post it live for sure. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one. A tank is 0.375 full. What percentage of the tank is empty? Well, full will be 100%, or 1.0000, right, as a decimal. It is only 0.375 full currently, so how much of it is empty? I have to do 1 minus that. So to do that, I got to borrow from this. That's going to give me a 10 here. I got to borrow from that 10. That's going to give me a 9 here and then a 10 here. I got to borrow from that 10 to give me a 9 here and a 10 here. Now I have 10 minus 5, 9 minus 7, 9 minus 3, and then that decimal lines up right there. We already took that one away. Correct answer. Oh, then I got to move my decimal 1, 2 to get 62.5%. Correct answer, answer A right there. Cherokee Whispers coming in. Hey, good. All right, very good. Move on to the next one. Give you a minute to do this. Okay, if you're coming up on the ASVAB military placement exam and you got some time, I have this book on Amazon. You could buy this book on Amazon. There are 25 chapters in it. And then there's a video for every chapter, so you can work your way through the book with the video kind of working with you. So that was kind of my idea. I also have, well, I'm working on 5 videos to cover the 5 parts of the book. So that's one way to do it. I teach high school math. I teach SOP and math. So I really focus on the math portion of the ASVAB, both the mathematical knowledge, which is really important to review, because that's really like the things you would have taken out of a math class. And then the second math portion is the arithmetic reasoning, which are a lot more word problems that you could sometimes figure out. But the arithmetic reasoning, the word problems, is really about seeing if you could decode the words and convert them into equations and solve the equations. I would just set aside time every day to study, and I would kind of sequentially study. I would start at the easiest stuff that maybe you know pretty well, fractions, decimals, percents, foundational skills, and build on that. You don't want to miss any really easy problems on the ASVAB to get to the hard ones that you might miss anyway. So it's a no calculator test. It is a time test. So the key to do well on any standardized test is really practice. Okay, so let's see here. What is 12.5% of 80? There's a couple ways to do this one. One is 12.5% might be one of the fractions or decimals you recognize. You know, if I have a whole, half of that is 50, half of that is 25, half of that is 12.5. So this is a whole, a half, a quarter, an eighth. So if you recognize this as an eighth of 80 is just going to be 10, right? So an eighth of 0.8 is 0.1. It's probably the quickest way to do that. If you're able to recognize 12.5 is half of 25, and 25 is a quarter. So the correct answer is A. The other way to do it is convert this into a decimal, 0.125. Take that 0.125, multiply it by 0.8. 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 16 plus 4 is 20, carry the 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Then what I do here is I count up how many decimal places I'm over. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get the same 0.1. The zeros after the decimal don't make any difference. So I can multiply it all out. Trying to save time on these problems, you could always memorize these 8 different fractions. Where are we at there? Let me move on to the next one, number 6. Give you a second to do this one. So on problem number 6 here. Thank you, Cherokee Whispers. It's great. Yep. Okay, everybody get this one right? So I got a piece of equipment costs $250 if the tax is 0.07 of the cost. What is the tax rate expressed as a percentage? So this is kind of like an arithmetic reasoning. It's actually an easy problem. All of this is just a distractor. You don't need to know any of that. You just said, if this is my decimal, convert to a percent. 0.07 as a percent. 12, 7%. Correct answer, answer D right there. There we go. Okay, moving on to number 7. This one's a little harder. I'll give you an extra minute or two on this one. Don't make a careless mistake on this one. Really kind of think it through. It's a pretty easy problem if you go slow enough, but an easy one to make a mistake. Okay, you got some answers up there. I'm going to just take this 3.5%. I'm just going to convert that half to a decimal, 3.5. Once I have that 3.5, it's still 3.5%. I got to go over that way 1, 2 to give me 0.035. Correct answer, answer B right there. So don't skip any steps. Convert that to a decimal first. Get that 3.5. Percent's telling you to shoot it over that way 2 spots. So that was that answer B. I mean, this is why the military wants you to take this test, because they're telling you to hurry up at 1 minute, and then you gotta, in that tense situation where you're trying to hurry through problems, you gotta slow down at the same time you're trying to rush. So it's a tough skill to develop. Okay, let's move on to number 8. We got 3 more problems here. Give you a minute to do this. What does the arrow you draw tell you? Oh, so I'll put this on hold for a second, just answering that comment. What does that arrow tell you? If I have 50%, that's it right there. My little trick, or my way to remember that, is to say this is like an arrow telling me to push it over 1, 2 places that way. So if I have a percent going to a decimal, I start at 50%. I got to go this way to go over 1, 2. So 50% is the equivalent of 0.5. That's what I was doing with the arrow. That's just my way of remembering which way to push the decimal point. And then these 2 little dots remind me that I need to push it that way 2 places. Okay, on this problem right here, there's kind of a quick way to do this one. 0.22 is close to 0.25. That is one of the decimals I recognize as a quarter. A quarter of 500 is about 120, 125. I look up here, and there's only one answer that's even close to about 120, and that's this one right here. So the correct answer is answer A. The other way to do it is multiply that whole thing out. 500 times 0.22, 0, 0, 10, placeholder, 0, 0, 10. I add straight down, get these zeros right there. Yeah, you know, okay. And then I'm over 1, 2 here, so I start here and I go over 1, 2 to get 110. So I can multiply the whole thing out, or if I could look at my answers first, I can eliminate answers that don't even make sense and end on that 110. Either way works. Okay, coming up, 2 more to go. Give you a minute to do this. Go slow enough that you don't make a mistake on this one. Okay, so here's my percent, 0.4%. From there, I got to go over 2 places. So I got to start here, go over 1, go over 2, put my decimal place here. There's nothing there, so I got to put a 0 in there, a 0 in there, get rid of my percent. So 0.4% is the equivalent of 0.004. Those 2 numbers are equivalent. So the correct answer, answer A, right there. There you go, got some A's there. Looking good. You see here. All right, last problem right here. I'll give you a second to do this. It's never over. You could do it. You could do it. Just got to keep working. You don't have to go crazy on work. Just put in time every day. Practice test, learning, watch some videos. Oh, that's a great dark umbra solo. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Oh, actually, let me pause here and go back to the last one. There's a question on the last one. It's saying 0.4%. So it says 0.4%. 0.4, I go over 1.4%. I go over 1.2 to get 0.004. If it were, say, 0.04%, it's not, but if it were that, I'd still go over 1.2 to get 0.0004 as a decimal equivalent. Okay, so back to number 10 here. A couple ways to do this one. Quickest way to do this problem is I'm just going to look at this and I see a 5 and a 12. 5 times 12 is 60. So the only answer that makes sense is answer A, 1260. If I want to multiply it out, I have 1200 times 0.05, 0, 0, 10. Carry the 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. Placeholder zeros all the way here. I add straight down to get 6,000. I count over 1, 2. So my decimal place goes over 1, 2, and it gives me 60. What I found right here is 5% of 1200. It's not asking me for that 60. It is saying, what is the new budget total? I have to take that 60, add it to that 1200 to get that 1260 right there. So those are the only problems I had come up with for today on decimals and percents going back and forth. Hopefully it's a helpful video. You could really, if you didn't get this, you go back and review this more and more. There's going to be a lot of decimal to percents to fraction style of problems. I did have another comment earlier that asked how to convert fractions into decimals, and I thought I'd just do a couple of those really quickly. If I have a fraction like 1/2 and it says convert that to a decimal, I think of that fraction falling over this way, so it falls over like this, and you're asking how many times does 2 go into 1? Well, it doesn't, so I got to put a decimal in there. Well, how many times does 2 go into 10? It goes in there 5 times. The decimal's right there, and it comes up. So 1/2 and 0.5 and 50% are all equivalents, right? To go to a percent, I go over 1, 2. So if I had, say, convert 7/10 into a decimal, fraction falls over, I'm saying how many times does 10 go into 7? It doesn't. How many times does 10 go into 70? It goes in there 7 times. Decimal comes straight up. Okay, so there are a couple of easy ones. We'll take those ideas and do some harder ones now. What is 3/15 as a decimal or a percent? Think of that fraction falling over. How many times does 15 go into 3? It doesn't, so I got to put a decimal. How many times does 15 go into 30? Twice. Decimal comes up. So 3/15 is equivalent to 0.2 is equivalent to 20%. Right? I go over 1, 2 to go to percents. Let's make up another one here. What is 7/15 as a decimal? Fraction falls over. How many times does 15 go into 7? It doesn't, so I go 7.0. 15 times 5 is 75. So 15 times 4, decimal is going to be here, is 60. Bring down another 0. How many times does 15 go into 100? 6 is 90. bring down another 0. 6 is 90. And I could see this is just going to continue on forever. So the way I say it continues on forever is I put a little bar on there. The other way I could do that too, probably on the ASVAB, it'll just be, you'd round that to 0.47. So you have 7/15 as a fraction, 0.47 is a decimal. Move it over 2 places to get the equivalent percent, 47%. Hopefully that answered that question, how to convert fractions to decimals. Okay, I'll post this for sure. Thank you. Thank you all for supporting the channel. I appreciate you, and especially if you're signing up to serve, thank you for your future service. So it keeps us all safe at home here. Yeah, that's a great way to simplify it to 1/5 is a great way to do this. So 3 goes into here once, into here 5 times, 1/5. 5 to 100 is 20, so this would be 0.2. The more connections you make like that, the better for sure. All right, I think with that said, I'll sign off right here. Again, thank you for your time. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure doing these videos.